News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, we begin with the latest effort to bring the Iran war to an end. President Trump has announced plans for an economic D-Day against Tehran, writing on social media, quote, "This will be economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale." The president says the plan could include more sanctions.
Well, we have things that we could sanction. We have very draconian sanctions, and we'll see what happens. Right now, the strait is open.
President Trump spoke to reporters at the White House. Bloomberg Middle East correspondent Abir Abu Omar has more from Dubai.
We don't know exactly what President Trump says when he says economic D-Day or when he says that Iran is going to face the most pain when it comes to these economic measures that are going to be taken against it, because he didn't clarify much beyond that Truth Social post that he had about that promise, essentially. What we know for the time being is that it could be some kind of further sanctions. And again, Iranian oil is sanctioned. China, the biggest buyer of that oil, of course, if it is targeted, that could bring up the conversation about retaliatory tariffs or even bigger kind of tensions between China and the United States.
And Bloomberg's Abir Abu Omar reports President Trump is demanding all countries stop providing any economic lifeline to Iran. The president's plan got a boost yesterday when the United Arab Emirates cut its economic ties to Tehran.
Nathan, while President Trump is putting pressure on Iran, he's looking to boost relations with North Korea.
You can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And I know Kim Jong-un very well, and he's going to be fine.
And the president says he hopes to have a meeting with North Korea's leader this fall, and that Kim has responded to that request. But Kim's powerful sister, Kim Yo-jong, says there's been no direct communication, and the U.S.'s, quote, hostile policies against her country haven't changed. President Trump says North Korea has 57 nuclear weapons, but South Korea puts that number at anywhere from 80 to 120. And this morning, Japan's Yonhap news agency reports North Korea fired around 10 short-range ballistic missiles. Japan's Coast Guard has confirmed at least one projectile fired outside its economic zone.
And there are new developments this morning, Karen, in the war in Ukraine. At least 12 people were killed, dozens more wounded in a Russian missile attack targeting Kyiv. Ukraine's military says Russia launched more than 40 ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as 168 drones overnight. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says as long as his country does not have enough anti-ballistic defense, Russia will not consider peace seriously.
Nathan, Canada and the U.S. have moved closer to finalizing a trade agreement. Bloomberg News has learned the Trump administration is poised to reduce tariffs on automobiles imported from Canada to 15% from 25% as part of a broader deal that would see the U.S. neighbor drop retaliatory trade measures. Here is U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer.
We feel confident that we've reached an agreement that will not only continue to protect American workers, American jobs, American supply chains, but really strengthen the North American economy.
U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, the tariffs on about $20 billion worth of Canadian imports have been postponed until midnight Saturday.
Now, Karen, a Bloomberg News exclusive. China is closing the gap with the United States in the race to develop artificial intelligence. A Bloomberg analysis suggests by several key metrics, Chinese AI models are even taking the lead. Bloomberg Asia Tech managing editor Edwin Chan says it's about more than just lower costs.
When it comes to the Kimi K3, as well as a plethora of other AI models that were released around the same time, including ZAI's GLM and Alibaba's Qwen, they demonstrated that the gap in performance also was rapidly closing. And I think that was what really triggered this year's debate in the U.S. about whether Washington should do more to try and curb that ascent. And I think it encouraged within China a domestic push to promote more open weight models to push adoption rapidly while they have the momentum.
And Bloomberg's Edwin Chan adds that the Trump administration could face backlash from American businesses in any attempt to rein in adoption of Chinese AI models.
Nathan, reactions still pouring in this morning to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's surprise effort to curb long-term borrowing costs. Yesterday, the Treasury said it would at least double the size of its bond buybacks to provide greater liquidity support. And here's former St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard.
The market reaction suggests that this is an important tactical move from the Treasury, a little bit unexpected, so you're probably getting an outsized reaction right now. But I don't think it changes the fundamentals of big fiscal deficits and a Fed on the sidelines, which is what's driving longer-term yields higher.
And former St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard, J.P. Morgan Chase strategists are warning that markets may view the Treasury's decision as lacking credibility, potentially pushing up the term premium and yields over time. And checking Treasuries right now, taking a look at the 10-year, yields are at 4.67%. The yield on the 2-year, 4.17%. The 30-year yield, 5.22%. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.